gonna get water. We're just gonna fight through it. All right, what's up, everyone? Brian and Scott here for another weekly fantasy podcast. This is week 9. How you doing today, Scott?
Doing well. How are you, sir?
I am good. Happy Halloween, my friend.
Yeah,
Just so I
big
know what you
holiday.
were. I know what you were, but how about you show everyone your cowboy hat?
This cheap hat
It looks more like
doesn't
a
doesn't
looks like the guy from the guy that's on peanut cans.
no.
Well, it's like a little character with a black hat, and it's like a top hat, and that's what it looks like more than a cowboy hat.
Yeah, it definitely does not look like a cowboy hat.
Yeah, bad description you sent me yesterday. Should I wear a cowboy hat to work?
Well, I didn't know what the hat would look like until then, at that point.
Yikes. All right, moving on. Moving on. Not great at
Back
costume.
to important business.
Not great at costumes, but if we see here, great at fantasy football. Um, so yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy. You got 4, 6, and 2 teams. Dan's right behind 5-3. Mike's, as of right now, has got that last playoff slot. And then a bunch of teams, all 3 wins or 2 wins. I mean, Johnny's only 2 games behind Mike for the playoffs. But as being the 3 seed, have you ever been in a league where it's been so top heavy to the point where there's 4 teams, all 6-2?
Not that I can recall. No. And the no divisions this year you know, tweaks it up. Like I remember last year, the one division was definitely much more stacked, but
Yeah.
nothing quite like this.
Yeah.
And if
And
you look at the points scored, it's very close too. Like I'm ahead of you by point 0.1.
no, 0.1 of a point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin and I were talking about this the other day because he texted me noticing that Sam surpassed him, or maybe I texted him or something. And it's crazy because we've been saying how great Justin's team has been all year, which obviously he still has a great elite team. But Sam comes out of nowhere and is now the 1 seed in the league. And
Yeah, and I know you said we were going to take a look at this tonight, but I played Justin last week. I knocked him off that top spot. I got Sam this week. We're going to try to knock him off that top spot.
yeah, well, my 2 losses have been to you and Justin so far.
So what I'm hearing is you can't rise, you can take care of business, but you can't play at that elite level.
Wait till postseason ball.
Fair enough.
And so Justin and I were talking about this the other day. Let's just imagine that these are the 6 teams as of today who make the postseason. Is getting that first round bye all that valuable as of right now? Obviously, it's nice,
Uh,
but is it?
I'd say absolutely.
Why is that?
Because you never know when someone's bum scrub that has to be played as a flex is going to randomly go for 25. It's one less week you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
And
set, you can start looking 2 weeks ahead at matchups instead of 1 week ahead. Gives
yeah,
you a little flexibility.
yeah. And Justin and I were talking that we're gonna desperately try to get that 1 or the 2 seed. And when we look at the schedules later, the scheduling might determine who gets the 1 or the 2 seed. But if we look right here, like Sam and Justin would both have first round buys so far this year. As of right now, you would play Mike and I would play Dan. But who knows who's going to have this 6th spot, and who knows who's going to have this 5th spot, and who knows what's going to happen with these 4. It's going to be a crazy last kind of 6 regular season games or 7 regular season games, whatever we got left.
uh, for sure. And when is the trade deadline? That's got to be coming up in a couple of weeks too.
I don't remember. I remember at the beginning of every fantasy year, I push it back a little bit. I don't remember what date I pushed it back this year. I just kind of randomly pick a date.
So I guess we'll see if anyone makes any big trades. I know everyone's shopping out their backup tight ends right now, like anyone cares, but whatever. You gotta try.
Hey, sometimes all you gotta do is throw stuff and eventually something will stick, right?
Yeah, I tried that this week. It didn't work.
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't sent out some terrible trade offers in a while. Let me try that.
Dude, I hate this ad that comes up every time. All right, but we're gonna breeze through the matchups tonight. We'll start with, I mean, we're already on here. So my team versus RJ's team. Once we start looking at the schedules later, I looked at RJ's schedule. RJ probably has the hardest schedule left. If I remember it, he plays me, Justin, you, and Mike still to end his season.
Ooh.
Or something along those lines. He's got a brutal schedule. So this is a big game for him. He needs to start winning to start building up some wins. But he is streaming Kirk Cousins this week now that Anthony Richardson's benched. I'm rolling back with Geno as long as DK plays. Rashad White is starting to tick it up. J.K. Dobbins against that Browns defense. I got my two running backs. Garrett Wilson plays tonight, actually in a couple minutes. Jamar Chase. Actually, RJ and I traded Jamar Chase on draft night. He's the number one receiver right now in fantasy football. So shout out to you, RJ. Good deal. Scary Terry. I benched him last week. I regret it, but still got the dub. David Njoku. You're a big Browns guy. What do you expect from Njoku the rest of the year with Winston? Back-to-back weeks. Good, talented player here.
Yeah, he was downgraded to questionable today, so I'm not exactly sure what the injury is. But with Winston, more of a gunslinger mold, he's going to get opportunities, and he's kind of that big body red zone target. So I think Njoku will be a top 10 tight end for the rest of the year.
Yeah, David Njoku is very talented. Jake Ferguson. I
I
also
was
picked.
on a I don't know if I've said this before, probably have like 10 times, but I was on a flight with David Njoku earlier this year. He was up in first class.
You weren't up in first
Big
class.
dude. No, I was not in first class. He's Jack.
I know, but
Like,
like if you sat next to David Njoku, I don't know if I'd be able to pick out who's who.
I mean, that's fair. We look very similar.
My tight end situation, I don't know if I'm going to play Fergie this week or Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta's had a tick up lately. Ferguson's been a tick down. I think I might roll with Laporta, but there's like he just has a game like this and then it just kills your lineup. So not sure yet, but Lions versus Green Bay should be a pretty high scoring game, I'm thinking. So it should be a good game to watch. I might play Laporta. He's got Olave running up. I got DeAndre Swift. He's been a godsend over the last 4 weeks. Chris Olave, very talented player, but I don't know if I can trust anyone in the Saints offense. But I do believe they get Derek Carr back, right?
Oh yeah, Derek Carr's expected to play, so Olave should be get back to his PPR roots.
Yeah, my only hope is that they're blowing him out so bad. Like if we see here, he had 2 catches for 11 yards the first time they played.
Yeah, I also saw that he might be wearing the Guardian cap this week
You know,
following his recent concussion. So I don't know. I
I've
don't know if
seen
that would
several
make a difference or not.
I've seen several things with that. I couldn't even tell you what that thing is.
It's just extra padding on the helmet. That's all it is.
Can never go wrong.
Shrinks the chances of concussions minimally.
You can never go wrong with extra padding. My defense, I have the number one defense so far in fantasy. I don't think I can play them against Baltimore, so we will stream a random defense later this week. And then I picked up this kicker today, Jake Bates. My thinking of that line's been scoring a ton of points, so it's just a lot of kicking. Evan McPherson, I actually find Evan McPherson to be obnoxious. And then yeah, the bench, Anthony Richardson. What are your thoughts about going with Flacco for real
Oh,
football and fantasy football?
well, I don't know if I'd play Joe Flacco as a fantasy quarterback. Maybe as a streaming option with a good matchup. Anthony Richardson, because of the running ability and the deep ball threat, is a very boomer bust fantasy player. I was high on him last year. He got hurt. I wasn't as high on him this year. As for real football, it seems like more of a PR decision to me. Like, oh, he subbed himself out of the game, and fans and media were upset that he subbed out. He's a quarterback, so we're gonna go with Flacco. Although I do think Flacco probably gives them the best chance of win. because Richardson isn't quite there yet, and that offense was kind of humming when Flacco did play.
Yeah, I mean, it's very weird as a young, very athletic quarterback, and you have to take yourself out because you're out of breath. It's very odd. Um, Bucky Irving, they kind of have like a three-headed committee, but Rashad White has been real nice over the last couple of weeks. Tampa Bay is a weird offense. They score a ton of points, and I don't really understand completely how, but with Godwin and Evans, that should slow down, I'm thinking. Dalton Kincaid, Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams, very boomer bust as well. I would not touch Javonte Williams this week against that Ravens rush defense. And then he still has TJ Hawkinson, who I believe comes back this week, if I correct, right?
Yes, he is. He's supposed to play this week in prime time. Joe Flacco and Sam Darnold.
What a prime time matchup. Yeah, my bye got Jaylen Warren on a bye. Brian Thomas left last week with a chest injury. Not sure if he's gonna play. Jalen Waddle, even last week when Tua came back, was not what I drafted him as. Very disappointing. Jacoby Myers and then Sam Laporta. Who you got this week? Should be a close matchup.
I'm gonna give it to. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to you. I think the Browns' run defense has gotten a lot better. Without JOK, that could hurt. So, and the committee scares me. I think your edge at running back with Henry and Barkley is going to give you such a good plus minus over Dobbins and White that I don't think Jamar Chase is going to be able to overcome.
Well, I certainly hope so. I expect Saquon to have a massive day against the Jaguars on Sunday.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
We're rolling with the next one. A couple 6-2 teams, 1 seed versus 3 seed. Yourself versus Sam. Got Jaden Daniels, Dak Prescott. Oh, he's rolling with the Cowboy lover himself, rolling with Dak Prescott. Who's his typical quarterback? Kyler. Interesting.
That's an interesting move.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Atlanta struggles defensively too. So maybe it's more
yeah,
matchup.
that could be points, points, points.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels against the Giants. His first time he played against the Giants, I believe it was real ugly.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was they didn't score a touchdown. They could move the ball and then just couldn't in the red zone.
yeah. I expect that to be kind of another ugly game, but the Commanders will pull away pretty easily, to be honest. But you never know with divisional games. Um, James Cook versus Monty. James Cook. What are your thoughts on James Cook? Because you and I have during the draft, you and I had kind of different opinions on James Cook. So I want to hear what you think now. You're 8 weeks in of the James Cook experiment.
We are at the point of the season right now where it's you know, you don't even think about it. He's in the lineup.
Yeah.
Uh, Mainly lack of options. I don't think, I don't have 5 top 10 running backs like I did last year for a stretch.
You just had to
But
throw.
yeah, it's inconsistent. I mean, last week he had a great week. So that offense does seem to be humming, although you never know when they're going to lay an egg.
Yeah, that Bills
I'm
offense.
confident, but yeah, it's one of those where he's in there because he's in there.
Yeah, I see right here. I have no idea what this stat is, but it says Cook is a starter on about 92% of teams. I want to see what 8% of teams aren't starting James Cook. And then Monty last week threw a touchdown pass. Um, top 12 running back in fantasy, even with Jamar Gibbs in the same backfield. Monty, what a great draft pick by you. 6th round, such great value. Lions have probably the best offense in football. But Sam also has 2 stud running backs. Kenneth Walker. I actually saw something that based on points per week that he actually plays, he has the most points per week of
Yeah, that
all.
doesn't shock me.
Kenneth Walker is a
He didn't have
stud.
a big game because they were down so much last week, but
Yeah. And then Bijan started to get it going. He's all the way up to ranked 4th in running backs all of a sudden. I mean, look at these past 3 weeks.
Yeah, and he's gonna have another monster week this week.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just gonna happen.
yeah, Sam's team could hit a home run, dude. Sam has put up like 160 multiple times this year already. CeeDee Lamb, huge week last week. Lad McConkey. Sam said on the podcast last week he expects him to pick it up. I don't know if he expected a 29 burger, but my goodness, that Chargers offense is hard to watch. So good for Lad McConkey. He is going up against the Browns this week. Do you think that's going to be a super low scoring game, or what's going to happen in it?
I kind of think it's gonna be a low scoring, ugly game,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I'm not sure if Denzel Ward's playing. I don't think he is,
No, I
and
saw
he is.
he has another concussion.
Yeah, so I don't think he's playing. The other two corners have not been good this year, so that's troublesome.
So not great
But
news.
but the Browns defense showed up last week. Maybe they show up this week.
Yeah. Yeah,
Who
we'll
knows?
see. T. Higgins versus Darnell Mooney. T. Higgins, I love me some T. Higgins. He's just injured. Seems like every other week. So when he plays, he's good, but he is going to miss games throughout the year. You're going back to your little Cooper Cup. Hopefully, Cooper Cup can stay healthy. I saw like 10 minutes before we hopped on, Puka re injured his knee at practice today.
I had not seen that.
I don't know how valid that is, but I did see it. We might have to do a little bit of research at the end. Raheem Mostert got back on track last week, scoring 2 touchdowns, averaging a whopping 2 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns for 16 fantasy points.
I
Oh,
actually just got an alert on my phone. Puka leaves with knee injury listed as limited participant. So there's your update, which is pretty much what you already said.
breaking news. Um, you're playing the Texans, and Sam must have switched from the Jets defense to the Eagles defense. Didn't you say that you guys have a defense matchup going on?
That's what I thought, but yeah, I see made a switch.
Going up against Jacksonville's offense. And then your buys, number one tight end in a buy can't feel great, but at least you got Pitts. Don't know why Jameson Williams is still on your bench.
Yeah, I was waiting for the text the other night when they issued the warrant for his arrest when you were like, are you gonna drop him now? And I was gonna be like, no.
What does this man need to do in order to get dropped?
I mean, uh good football player, and that's really what it comes down to.
Fair enough. And then Sam still has Nico Collins, even being the 1 seed, still Nico Collins on IR. Um, Tyrone Tracy looks like it's going to be a great addition if he can stay healthy. And then your two Jaguars running backs. That's just play whoever's starting that week, I guess, if you had to play one of them. Wow,
Yep.
and Sam still has Jonathan Brooks, who could possibly come back. Interesting team. Um, you're projected to whop them. The projections only mean so much. But I think I'm going to lean you in this one. I like your matchups just a little bit more. I actually think that Browns Chargers is going to be real ugly. And I think based on how poorly the Giants have played, at first it's going to be close and then they're going to run away with it. And Monty will definitely get a rushing touchdown against the Packers. I think it's going to be another high scoring game out of both of you, but I got you winning this one in a close matchup.
Yeah, so something that I'm hoping changes this week is this is gonna as I have not been able to play Lamb, Higgins, and Cup in the same week. None, all three of them have not been active for 1 week. So if I could, if those three, that's a really good trio of receivers. If I'm able to have those three in the lineup consistently, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, you got to feel good
We'll
about
see
your
if
team.
Higgins ends up playing or not.
Yeah, that's just the one problem with T. Higgins. He just the wind blows and all of a sudden he's on the injury report. All right, we got Mike versus Justin. Justin 6-2, Mike 4-4. If you remember, Mike started off real bad. Then he won like 3 in a row. Now he's back to 500. Um, Yeah, not much has changed out of any of their lineups, really. Got Joe Burrow versus Lamar. HN with Tua back has been putting up big numbers with Tua in the lineup. He was back at it last week. Tony Pollard this week gets the start for Justin now that Jordan Mason is becoming irrelevant, which obviously takes a hit at Justin's team a bit. This is the biggest weakness in the league, in my opinion, out of any team. The Tyler Algier RB2 for Mike. I mean, this is going to be the position that kills Mike's team throughout the year, right?
Absolutely. And Joe
Yeah.
Mixon's been solid when he's been out there, but Tyler Algier, you're hoping he falls into the end zone, and
Yeah.
it's just not happening.
I
Arthur
mean,
Smith isn't calling the plays anymore.
well, yeah, I mean, with Bijan wrapping it up, I don't expect Tyler Algier to do much for the rest of the year, to be honest. Then obviously we just talked about Puka. If Puka can't go, it's a huge, devastating hit for Mike. Justin Jefferson, Drake London, AJ Brown, all three are studs. I have no idea who this tight end is. Grant Calcaterra.
Yeah, I saw that notification came through like an hour ago that that move was made, and I was like, okay, that's definitely a move.
Yeah, well,
Goddard must not be playing. That can be it's the
yeah, well, I mean, as a tight end, he got nearly 9 fantasy points. I think a lot of teams would take that from their tight end if you told him to
sure.
get 9 points to begin the week. Versus Brock Bowers, obviously Brock Bowers is a stud. Cortland Sutton found his way back on another team. This dude gets passed around like a sophomore girl in college, my friend. This dude has been on like 4 different teams this year already. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, you were treading some dangerous water with that metaphor. I didn't know where you were gonna go. Uh, I thought about picking him up. I think I even tried to pick him up once. I don't know. He's a good receiver
Yep,
on
he's a
a
good
great
receiver.
offense, but
I'm sure he will be dropped at some point and added again at some point this year by another player.
yeah, he's not a terrible if you're desperate to play someone to pick up and play.
Yeah.
Not a bad option, not a
And
good
then
option.
obviously Malik Neighbors been trending down a little bit, but last week was very close to a touchdown. That would have changed his whole week. Ravens against Denver, Bears against Zona, and then Brock Purdy on the pine. Goddard must be out. Like you said, he's questionable. George Pickens has started to pick it up with that new Russell Wilson offense.
Just want to buy.
Yep, on a bye. Jordan Mason is out. DeAndre Hopkins, just 2 catches last week. Chase Brown, Najee on a bye, Fryermuth on a bye. Should be a close matchup, but if Puka's out, I got Justin winning pretty easily if Puka's out.
I agreed. Too much firepower, even with Grant Calcaterra.
Hey, if he could, I'm sure Justin would be thrilled with 9 points. All right, next one. We got Mario versus Dan, and this is one of the schedules when we look at the schedules portion of the podcast. This matchup is very important. Dan's rolling with Mahomes this week instead of shake and bake Baker Mayfield against Kansas City's defense. I don't blame him. Sam Darnold against the Colts, prime time. Breece Hall. Dan and I texted last week as we played each other. I was following very closely to the Jets game, obviously, and Breece Hall was averaging 5 yards a carry. They gave Braylon Allen 2 goal line touches. I mean, you have a football brain and a football mindset. Why would they be doing that?
He's more of a power back by trade than Brees Hall is, but I think you still got to give it to the better overall player.
Yeah, I
Braylon
mean,
Allen is a very good running back and could be an RB1 on a lot of NFL teams, but yeah, he's
it's
not Brees Hall.
it's just weird. You're the Jets. You're 2-6. You just traded for Devonte Adams. You traded a bunch of picks over the last couple years to build this team, and you lose to the Jacoby Brissett / Drake May Patriots.
Yeah, Drake May actually looks pretty good in
Yeah,
the when he's been out there. And the Jets offense tonight went 3-and-out on their first drive, so keeping
nice.
keeping it hot.
Alvin Kamara is just a stud. It doesn't matter who plays. This dude's a PPR god.
And
Look at,
with Carr back, with Carr back, he's a top 5 running back.
I mean, when you average literally like 4.5 catches a game, you're gonna do great things. Devonta Adams has been very slow so far. The 2 games he's played with the Jets, just 6 and 9. Um,
He did on that first drive. He beat a receiver deep. Aaron Rodgers just threw it 10 yards out of bounds.
Kareem Hunt, great pickup from Mario, keeping his team afloat. Amari Cooper had a dud last week. This is kind of just like this is what you get with Amari Cooper, though. This has been going on for years. Tyreek Hill finally back with Tua. Just had an okay game last week, not really for Tyreek standards. Travis Kelce's been crushing it lately. That must anger you because he blew your season last year. What are your thoughts on that?
He's had one really good week and a couple okay weeks. Whatever. I
I
have the number 1 tight end in fantasy. I
okay.
don't miss Travis Kelce.
My tight end.
Not that Kittle will stay there the whole season, but yeah, I don't miss Kelce.
I think a lot of people would do anything to have a tight end who scores 15 fantasy points.
Right, but he's only done that 3 times all year.
That's more than a lot of people's tight ends. I can speak from experience.
Kittle's done it like every week.
Okay, we're moving on. Dan's run out. Keon Coleman. What are your thoughts on this one?
They like to throw him fades in the red zone.
Yeah, he's real athletic. He's real
He's
tall.
not going to catch a lot of passes, but he might find the end zone. Kind of
Yeah.
boomer bust.
Yep. And then Dan's rolling with Jonnu Smith from the Dolphins at tight end for the 2nd week in a row. Brian Robinson Jr., just a steady running back. My only problem with Robinson, if he was on my team, he's kind of touchdown or bust. What are your thoughts on Brian Robinson, knowing that you have his quarterback?
Uh, he's looked really good. Um, but they like to use Daniel's mobility in the red zone. So, Willie, the touchdowns may not be in there. They're a little inconsistent, but I think he's having a great year. And as a flex play, having that, if he's your 3rd or 4th running back, you just love it. I think a guy like Robinson, with Justin's team, we've talked about it with Tony Pollard and Najee Harris,
Yeah.
just having someone steady that you can plug and play at flex or RB2. Such a luxury.
Yeah. And then here, transition to another Robinson. Wendell Robinson started off so hot and back-to-back weeks has slowed down. That Giants offense has slowed down. I don't know what to think about Wendell Robinson. He's really good for PPR. He's not going to get you many yards. He's not going to get you many touchdowns. You just got to hope that he catches 6, 7 balls for, 50, 60, 70 yards.
Yeah, as a Giants fan, let me ask you a question here.
Oh, God. Okay.
Would you rather see Drew Lock play quarterback?
No. No.
No.
I think
No?
Daniel Jones gets a worse rap than what he actually is, in my opinion.
Agreed, but would you rather see Drew Lock play quarterback?
No, because I know how much the Giants paid for Daniel Jones. So you might as well use him. Now, do I know if he's going to be
From a
the starter?
fantasy perspective, do you think Drew Lock would help the other players
No,
on the Giants? You
no,
don't. Okay.
nope. And then Packers, Bengals, a couple kickers. And yeah, biggest one, Baker Mayfield on the bench, number 2 quarterback. He had a great game even last week, scoring 22 points against that Falcons defense. And then Ramondre Stevenson still on the bench. I might reach out to Mario about Ramondre Stevenson if he's just going to let him go to waste. But this is
Yeah, he seemed very set on the pod last week, like, oh, I'm not playing him. I'm not playing him. I'm not playing him. I'm like, I don't know why you wouldn't. I know there were some bad weeks there and he had the fumbles, but
yeah, I guess it's just you might trust someone a little bit more. I mean, if you see here, like Stevenson is a starter on just about 59% of teams only. That's a little bit more than 50-50. So yeah, so this should be an interesting matchup and it get more interesting once you look at the schedule. But I kind of like Mario's matchups here. I think I'm rolling with Mario on this one.
I am as well.
And again,
Hang on. Yes, yes, I will.
when we get
I
to the
will. Yeah.
schedules, it gets
I
real.
don't trust those Jets at all.
Yeah. All right, Jimmy versus Johnny. Another big week. Johnny 2-6, Jimmy 3-5. It feels like for Jimmy, if you're going to make the postseason, you got to beat Johnny. Feels like for Johnny, if you're going to make a run at that last playoff spot, you got to beat Jimmy. Um, Finally, Johnny bench CJ Stroud. Thank you, Johnny. There was no reason you were playing him throughout the year. Stephon Diggs being out must have been the last nail in the coffin. Jordan Love, Austin Eckler, and James Conner, Nick Chubb, and Aaron Jones. Got to give Johnny the edge there in running back, I would think. Wide
Yeah,
receivers,
finally. Who would have thought we would be saying that 4 weeks ago?
I still can't believe I'm saying it. And I believe, if I'm correct, Jimmy actually traded for James Conner. Jimmy traded
I do.
Chris Olave
Yeah, I don't.
to RJ to get James Conner. And then Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman, Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore. Marvin Harrison, I believe that's back-to-back weeks with a pretty decent week. No, I'm way wrong. He only had 5 points there. What are your thoughts on Marvin Harrison? He went in the second round of our draft. Looking at his numbers,
Um,
this game he left with a concussion.
that's the 0 point game, I think.
Oh, yeah. He had 2 targets. What are your thoughts on him being like a second round pick?
I don't know if he's quite a second round pick. I mean, he's a great wide receiver, but I don't know if he's second round value. It's a little boomer bust.
Yeah.
It,
When I
it seems to be game plan oriented too, because the first week they came out and they were like, "Oh, well, I guess we got to get him more involved in the game plan after he didn't do anything week one." And then he was a huge focal point of the game plan. Then he gets hurt, and then he didn't do much the first game back. And then it was like, "Oh yeah, let's get him in the game plan again." So
Yeah, it's just weird. I'm just looking at his targets right here. And if you use that high of a draft pick on a wide receiver, and he's supposed to be your new franchise receiver, you need to get him more targets. He should be averaging 8, 9 targets a game. I think they need to give him the
yeah,
ball more.
comparing him to like Malik Neighbors, a rookie receiver. Malik Neighbors is a focal point of that Giants game plan. They want to get him the ball early. They want to get him the ball often.
Yeah.
Harrison, not quite.
Yeah. Mark Andrews, back to back good weeks, I believe. Oh, back to back to back good weeks. Touchdowns in all 3 weeks. That will slow down eventually, but good for Johnny that he
What's
held
his
on
what's his ranking now?
11. Still outside the
11.
top
All
10,
right.
but he's trending up. Trey McBride was off to a slow start, but has got it going. Probably the best, most consistent tight end for the rest of the year, in my opinion, for fantasy.
Interesting.
Amon-Ra versus Calvin Ridley. Amon-Ra has been disappointing this year at times, just because like here, yeah, he scored 8.7, but he has 2 targets only. This game he only has 6 targets, 4 targets. He's lucky he fell in the end zone. But then you have weeks where he goes for 20 plus. That Lions offense is weird. They just have so many weapons. They just blow teams out. So they don't need him to do as much towards the second half.
Yeah, agreed. And that touchdown he scored last week, it was like they were on the 1 yard line. It was like they ran the play just to get him a touchdown. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was like kind of a weird play. I was like, yeah, we got to get our guy a touchdown here.
Just to keep him happy. And then
That's what it
Calvin
seemed like.
Ridley. DeAndre Hopkins gets traded. Calvin Ridley gets 15 targets, catches 10 of them. This is another guy. It's just kind of what happens when you take Calvin Ridley. He's going to kill your team, or he's going to make your team into an instant. You can win any matchup of the week.
Yeah, I would expect a lot of double teams coming his way this week.
Yeah, and is it still Mason Rudolph?
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would surprise anyone if Ridley catches 2 balls for 20 yards this week.
Yeah, I think that a New England Tennessee game is another game where it's just gonna be ugly. Like I don't know what the total is, but I could see it that game only in the 20 total points, 20 to 30 total points being scored in that game.
Yeah. All right, then you got some buys. Mike Evans obviously hurts Jimmy. He still has Zeke.
The fact that Mike Evans didn't go on IR for the Bucks though means it's probably not super serious, so he should get him back soon.
Hopefully, I think he kind of needs Mike Evans, or his team's going to really start to struggle for one of those last playoff spots. And then Johnny, ooh, CJ Stroud's at negative points. He must have threw a pick or fumbled.
Yeah, he just fumbled in
Fumbled.
the red zone.
Khalil Shakir has been fantastic. If I'm Johnny, I'm playing Khalil Shakir no matter what. I mean, look at these double digit performances, and you got guys like Calvin Ridley and DJ Moore who have just been so hit or miss, and most of the time it's a miss. I'd be interested in playing Shakir if I was Johnny. And then do we know now that Mason's out, is McCaffrey supposed to come back after the bye?
There's a chance.
All right, Johnny,
I haven't seen anything official, but there's a chance.
this could be your chance, Johnny. Just looking at the matchup, I got to roll with Jimmy. I think Michael Pittman sees an uptick with Joe Flacco.
It's Pittman's rank. I'm curious about that. I haven't heard a. It doesn't seem like he's been doing a lot this year.
No, it's
43.
ranked
Sounds about right.
43rd. Some really bad
And
weeks.
those are the weeks when Flacco was playing.
Yeah, I mean, with Anthony Richardson, he's just not a good thrower of the bar, and he's more willing to scramble while Flacco will just throw it up. Gives your guy more
Yeah,
chances.
and being a good thrower of the ball is a quality I look for in a quarterback in the NFL.
But why do you have Jaden Daniels then? He only throws like little 5 yard routes, and he throws one bomb a game.
Uh, he, did you see that bomb he threw at the end of the game? Perfectly executed pass.
Did you see the Bears guy celebrating off to the side before?
Yeah, it's just
Dude, you
you.
cut.
Yeah, just embarrassing.
Yep. And then yeah, so this it's going to be a very important matchup. It's kind of a must win for both of them. I got Jimmy.
I
Getting it.
got Jimmy. I can't. Even if I thought Johnny was going to win, I would say Jimmy,
That's fair.
since I was declared his nemesis for some reason.
And then here's another important one. The last matchup of the week, Chad versus Kevin, both 3-5. Kevin mounting a little comeback, and you know that because he changes his team name based on how he does each week. So last week they were the terrible little Giants. Now they're kind of good Giants. So you know his team's trending up a little bit. Josh Jalen versus Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is starting to get obnoxious to me because I have Saquon, not just in this league, in my other league. He had like 3 goal line touchdowns. Yes.
Push.
Yeah. It's freaking obnoxious. Kyron might be the most consistent RB in fantasy football. He's got a touchdown every single game other than he does have one, a receiving touchdown. I don't expect that to change. Jonathan Taylor has been a little disappointing this year. Missing 3 weeks. I see here the weeks he has been playing, he's been pretty good actually. Jamar Gibbs starting to get it going like how he did last year. Look at these back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I have a scouting report on Jahmyr Gibbs.
Let me hear
He fast.
it. He's really fast. That offense is just so unbelievable. You had Gibbs last year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's fast. He's so fast he makes fast things look not fast.
Wow, that's some great.
I gotta jump in here really quick because every time I see this, it bothers me. And I've said this on the pod, giving out the my secrets.
Uh,
Playing a wide receiver in your flex spot on Thursday night football is rookie mistake. Kev, be better. I've told you this before.
um, Chad has Chuba. Chuba's starting to slow down just a bit every single week over the last, wow, all these weeks. He's trended downwards. Um, all of them by nearly 2 points too. So let's see if Chuba only puts up 7 this week against the Saints defense. Jaden Reed is starting to slow down a bit as well. I think some of these boomer bust guys that were really booming for Chad at the beginning of the year are starting to come back down to earth.
Oh, he's playing Cedric Tillman. Oh my God.
Hey, Cedric Tillman, I actually believe that over the last 2 weeks of fantasy football, he's wide receiver 1.
I mean, maybe. I watched the Browns game with my dad this past week, and before the game, like when the first ball that went to Tillman, I turned to him. I was like, that guy shouldn't be in the NFL. He should be playing in Canada. So, I stand corrected there.
Yeah. Well,
I, I
one of his
yeah, I
touchdowns
can't
last
stand Cedric Tillman, but he had a good week. Maybe
one
he'll
of
do it again.
one of his touchdowns, including a long one, was right after the Ravens dropped an interception, like right in their hands at the end of the
What's your
game.
point? Yeah, what's your point?
So like if he catches that one, well then these numbers are very different.
Yeah, but Jameis.
Yeah, that's true. Zay Flowers, do you think Zay Flowers takes a dip now that Deontay Johnson's a Raven, or do you think it doesn't do anything?
I don't think that move actually makes that big a difference of anything. If you want my honest opinion, I don't think Deontay Johnson does much for that offense. I don't think it does much for his fantasy value. Zay Flowers should be about the same.
Fair enough. Josh Downs with Joe Flacco starting. Kevin, I like this play. Josh Downs, a good receiver. Now that Anthony Richardson is on the pine, Joe Flacco will be looking at Michael Pittman and Josh Downs a lot this week. I like the play.
Yeah,
Um,
is that two tight ends? That looks like two tight ends.
where? Oh, yeah,
For
yeah, for Chad. Yeah, Chad's rolling
yeah,
with Evan Ingram, Cole Kmet versus K. Dot and Tank
bringing
Dell.
out the heavy personnel.
Yeah, bringing out the goal line sets. Evan Ingram, though, is kind of like a receiver in a tight end's body. Evan Ingram's nice. Cole Kmet, not a huge fan of, very boomer bust. Jesus Christ. 1, 6, 25, 6, 8, 24, and 4. Chad's just praying that it's one of these type of games for
Yeah,
our,
I don't love that at all.
our good friend Cole Kmet.
Yeah, you're playing the law of averages there, and it's
Look at this guy. How can you
yikes.
bench him? Let's test your football knowledge. Where did Cole Kmet go to school?
Leave Notre Dame.
Actually, I have no idea, so I'm just gonna believe I'm gonna believe you were right. Um, Deontay Johnson, I think you might not think it's a big deal. I think this is a huge deal for him. I don't think Deontay Johnson is a top 20 or
Yep,
any.
Notre Dame.
No, well done. I think Deontay Johnson
Deontay Johnson went to TOLEDO.
totally out of luck. Is
Huh?
that what it means?
Toledo.
Oh, I thought you were saying like totally. I thought that was an acronym. That's my fault.
I was just spelling it out.
I
My
think
hometown.
I think Deontay Johnson takes a huge dip. I don't even think he's really that playable anymore, to be honest. Um, Chad still rolling
I
with.
didn't think he was very playable to begin with.
Does Chad have 3 top 10 tight ends? He has the 8
Yeah, and
tight.
he'll trade you that and some other scrub for an RB too. Keep that in mind.
Hey, sometimes you just gotta throw stuff out there. He's still missing Pacheco. Um, yeah, it just feels like Chad needs to get a win here. Kevin's on the up and up. I think I got Kev on this one.
Yeah, I do too. And once we look at the schedules, I might be coming in with a hot take.
Oh, I know that hot take. I already know what you're gonna say. So we'll take a look at the schedules. We'll just go one by one team since we're only looking at a couple matchups. I got RJ this week. Kevin, Johnny, Justin, Mike, Jimmy. I only have one team as of right now that's over 500, and that is Justin. Um, you know,
Rigged question mark?
over the last 2 weeks, I was able to beat both Sam and Dan. So hopefully now I can just continue my win streak. And I'm hoping by week 12, this matchup is kind of like if I win this matchup, I get a bye kind of thing. So we'll see there. We'll roll to Johnny's. This is why Johnny's is a must win this week. He plays Jimmy, Chad, myself, Mario, Sam, and Dan. This is three of the better teams in the league, in my opinion. So he's got to beat the teams with losing records if he wants any hope to make a chance at that final playoff spot. We'll go to Jimmy's. Jimmy has a brutal schedule. That's why it's another must win for Johnny. Jimmy plays Justin, Mario, you, Chad, and myself. He still has to play 3 different 6-2 teams over the next 6 weeks. Half his games are against the top 3 teams in the league, or top 3 of the 4 in the league. Brutal schedule for Jimmy. Got to get that dub this week, Jimmy, or else you're in world of hurt. Chad, he's got a matchup with Kev, Johnny, Justin, Mario, Jimmy, and then Mike. I think Chad can make a playoff run here. I think there's some very winnable games here. And to be honest, he might need a win either against Justin or you to steal that last playoff spot.
Yeah, his roster though, maybe Pacheco comes back. I'm not feeling that roster right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look, he got off to a decent start, but he's lost 3 weeks in a row. He needs to win pretty bad. You got RJ's. RJ's is brutal.
On Puka. We got an update on Puka.
What's the update?
Puka's knee injury is not believed to be serious. Status for Sunday to be determined.
All right. So that's good news from Mike. But look at RJ's schedule here. Me, Mario's team, who's been performing well, Sam, Dan, you, and then Kev. Brutal stretch for RJ.
Yeah, RJ, you're gonna want to say a couple prayers, maybe a couple different religions. I don't know, because that's gonna be. You have 2 wins right now. You'll be lucky to finish the year with 4.
Gosh. Hot take from Scott. You've been a little feisty on the podcast tonight.
Well, you got to say something to get the people talking every once in a while.
All right. And we look at Dan's. Dan's going up against Mario, and this is why I think this is important for Dan. He lost last week to me. If he loses this week to Mario, then look at his next 2 weeks. Plays Sam, then plays you. And then he still has to play Kev's team too, who I think is on the up and up. RJ's team could win any given week. I don't know. If Dan loses here to Mario and falls to 500, do you think a little bit of panic steps in, especially if Devontae Adams isn't looking too hot, knowing that he has to go play Sam and you next?
I'd be worried without Godwin. I mean, you said it. Godwin being the wide receiver 1 there and now being out for the year is maybe he wouldn't have maintained that pace, but massive production not there anymore.
Well, it's not just that Godwin was 1. He also had Baker, who was 2. So he was able to pair them up together. You got Mario's schedule against Dan, against RJ, and then plays Justin second last week of the season. This was a big loss for Mario, which sucks. Because his team put up a lot of points.
His team is it's like he's had good weeks, he's had good matchups. He's not winning. I think being at 2 wins again, it would take a miracle to get back in the playoff hunt, although his team is talented.
Yep. All right. We only got a couple more. You got Sam's team plays you this week, then Dan's team next week. And then a couple of the teams fighting for that last spot, and then plays Justin in the season finale. This could be so Justin actually plays me, someone, and then Sam 2 out of his last 3 weeks.
Could be fighting for that bye.
He'll be fighting for that bye. And then here's Kev's. This is the one you wanted to look at. He's got Chad, me, Mario, Sam, Dan, and RJ. Let's hear if this hot take is willing to withstand or
I've
not?
been a, I have been a believer in Kev's team all year. I I really have. And I've said that every week, and it's starting to win. So I'm just gonna double down. I think Kev makes the playoffs.
All right. Do you think Kev makes the playoffs as the 6th seed, or do you think he can get all the way up to
Oh
5?
yeah, I don't think it would be much higher. It'd be the 6th seed. Definitely wouldn't be maybe the 5, but he would make the top 4. I think he's gonna sneak in.
All right. And here is Mike's team. So that loss to Johnny last week becomes important because
Embarrassing.
he plays Justin this week, you next week, couple other teams are fighting me and Mario to end his season. So he still has to play 3, 6, and 2 teams.
Good luck.
That's why
I
gotta
mean, he's healthy now, especially if Puka's not serious. So
yeah.
he'll be in the mix.
And then Justin's, he's got Mike, Jimmy, Chad, myself, Mario, and Sam. Hopefully
I think Justin's feeling pretty good.
of course he is.
I think he's got a very good chance to get one of those 2 buys.
And then lastly, your team goes Sam this week, Mike, Dan, Jimmy, RJ, Chad. Wow.
One game at a time.
One game at a time. No bad coaching mistakes like years previous, Scott. Team analytics this year, right?
Yes.
All right. So those are the schedules. I just have a little quiz for you. I got 3 players, 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 receiver. Let's see if you can guess them. What position you want to
Yeah.
do first?
Just start at quarterback.
All right. This quarterback's the number 2, no, not number 2, number 22 quarterback in fantasy football this year.
Oh, okay. You went pretty deep.
Yeah, I can't just give you the easy ones.
2 is Baker Mayfield.
I know. That's why it's not Baker Mayfield. He is in the
I
NFC.
didn't guess. I didn't guess Baker Mayfield. I was just saying he's number 2.
Yeah, that's why he's not Baker Mayfield. Trust me.
I didn't guess that.
He's in the NFC. And I'll
Okay.
give you one more clue. Then you can take a guess. And I have one last clue to give you to help you.
Okay.
He currently has a touchdown to interception ratio, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions on the year. He's played every game this year. NFC, 6 TDs, 5 interceptions. He's played every game this year. Do you have a guess who it could possibly be?
There's a name that is jumping out immediately, yes. But I'm thinking.
Okay. And just for fun,
Okay.
we'll give you 3 guesses at each position to see if you can guess the player.
I think this might be Daniel Jones.
Well done. Wow. Just one guess in. It is Daniel Jones. The last clue I had, I had to Google it. He had a historic playoff debut a couple years ago. The only player in NFL history in a playoff debut to have 300 passing yards, 2 pass TDs, and 70 rushing yards all in the same game. Hall of Famer.
And you don't want him to be the franchise quarterback of the Giants.
I don't know what I want anymore. But we're moving
Someone
on.
just scored a touchdown for the Jets.
Well, hopefully it wasn't Garrett Wilson.
I don't know who that is. Who's number 14 for the Jets?
As long as it wasn't Garrett Wilson.
No, it's not Garrett Wilson.
It hasn't updated on here yet, but as soon as it updates, I can
Conley, Chris Conley.
Chris Conley, the former Chief.
Okay. And that's gonna get overturned because he dropped the ball before crossing the goal line.
So what, is he gonna be down at the 1, or is it gonna be a touchback?
It's gonna be a. It's gonna be a. It's gonna be a touchback. 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 It's gonna be a touchback Touchback. Did it come out of his hand before it crossed? Yeah, I don't think that's a touchdown. Dumbass.
Oh, not Chris Connolly. Here's the name.
Malachi Corley. Okay. Well, yeah, what do I know?
Oh, a 19-yard rush. It's a rushing touchdown. And it's
Yeah, it was a reverse, but I think it's getting reversed.
all right. Well, we'll keep that up. We'll go to
Yeah.
uh, our running back now. Number
Okay.
19 running back in fantasy this year.
Okay. This one's gonna be
He,
harder.
yes, it is. He is in the AFC.
Got it.
5 out of 6 weeks he has scored double digits. Go ahead, take your first
Okay.
guess, and I can give you another clue.
Yeah, there's a name that jumped out immediately. Let me just do a quick think. Okay, there's two guys that I'm thinking now. Actually, three. I got three that I am pontificating over.
No idea what word you just said.
I got three guesses. One of them's probably right, but I'll go with the one I thought of immediately. And that would be J.K. Dobbins.
It is not J.K. Dobbins, so I'll give you clue number 2. This guy was a first-round draft pick in the
Najee
NFL.
Harris.
Yeah, it's Najee Harris. 5 out of 6 weeks, double-digit scoring. Number 19 running back. Good for Najee Harris.
What's J.K. Dobbins now? I want to know what his rank is.
All right, let's look it up.
He's got to be in that range of ranking.
I'd guess he's like 15. 18. Well done.
All right, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but he's been slowing down. He was never going to keep
Yeah.
up that 20 points a game pace. All right. So we got a quarterback and we got the running back. Here's the wide receiver.
Which would probably be even harder than the running back.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a little tougher on you. He's the number actually I did not write the exact number. He's a top 15 wide receiver this year in fantasy football.
Touchback, not a touchdown.
Touchback?
Yep.
No, Bill Belichick rule. Do not reach over the goal line. Just take it down at the 1. Top 15 wide receiver. NFC. He's on a new team this year.
I don't know. I don't think it's that.
This one's going to be significantly harder, in my opinion.
Maybe it is that then. I don't know. NFC new team this year. Darnell Mooney.
Wow. Well done. My next clue was going to be he went to Tulane.
That one wouldn't have helped me.
Wow, look at you. You go 3 for 3. And on 2 of them, you didn't even use any of your guesses. You just guessed once and you were good.
I watch too much ball. I have no life.
All right. So we looked over all the matchups. We looked at the standings. We played this little quiz. We looked at the schedules. Do you have anything else you want to add to the league this week?
Yeah, Sam didn't want to hop on the pod this week because he's ducking me.
Yep. In his defense, I did see a picture of him dressed up as Ricky Bobby going trick-or-treating with his children, but that could have been all set up.
Paper. Too coincidental.
All right, Fantasy Football League. Well, good luck this week. I'm hoping all you bottom teams in the league continue to lose. I hope the top teams in the league, other than myself, continue to lose. I hope just somehow everyone continues to lose, other than myself, so I can go back to back this year.
First one to ever do it.
Not only be the first one to ever go back to back, we haven't had a 2-time winner in this league yet.
No. Maybe this year. Probably not.
Maybe
knows?
this year, probably. Good luck, league. See you on Sunday.